You have a fucking startup that's like, we're done with fuses, we're done with cross-car wiring, we're done with ladder frames, we're done with unitary construction, we're done with paint shop, we're done with all of this other shit. We've just had it. We're throwing it all out. Fuck your suppliers, fuck your dysfunction, fuck your 12 volts. We're just doing it our way from start to finish. Oh, and then we're throwing it out and doing it again because it wasn't good enough. I thought the world was finally going to catch up to Tesla.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to TeslaFix. Today we have another special episode, of course, because we kind of have Cyber Week right now. Elon went to Munro Live, actually, did a great interview with Sandy Munro, and he revealed a lot of sexy things that we're gonna get into this episode. Of course, the Cybertruck had a significant impact. The news outlets were kind of crazy. We've seen so many reviews and everything, and there's so much interesting technology in. We're gonna see in a different vehicle that we're gonna talk about today. So today I have a special guest talking about this, and let's see who it is. I had to use that intro again. It's so awesome. So Lars from Best in Tesla is here, of course, because we have to talk about the topics that are going on right now, and I'm so glad he's here. So please, Lars, tell everybody what's up and how you do it, and then we're gonna start the episode.
Yeah, thanks. Good, and thanks for having me on again. It was a pleasure doing a live stream with you about the Cybertruck. Yeah. So that was fun. Hope we can do that again.
Mm-hmm. Of course. Yeah, it was super successful on your channel, right?
Yeah. It has been one of the most successful live stream shows I have ever done. So thank you.
We have to repeat that. Yeah, we have to repeat that. So everybody watch out. I think Lars and I are going to do some of those maybe frequently. Let's see what's in the future. Yeah, but please, Lars, go on. You can have the mic now.
Yeah, well, I've just been busy this week as well, talking about Cybertruck pretty much. Just made another video about Cybertruck because we have got so much details now after the event, because the event itself was a little bit disappointing in the details about the truck. But then we got all the great reviews coming out, and we got all the details on the website that we also went through with the live stream, where we find a lot of details, also bi-directional charging and all that good stuff that they didn't talk about at the reveal or the delivery event. So that was a lot of good stuff to dive into. So that's pretty much what I'm doing right now, diving into Cybertruck.
Yeah. Yeah, me also on Twitter. I had heated debates again, and I'm pushing so much for this. Wouldn't say narrative, but if the breadcrumbs that I picked up all the time is the Cybertruck coming to Europe, and it's keep getting more and more interesting, because now what was recent, I'm gonna publish this here now, is of course that the order window picture changed of the reservation of the Cybertruck, also on my page, changed to the newer model now. So they've kind of 100% switched the website now to also in Europe to the Cybertruck, and this was recent actually. And it's pretty exciting. Maybe the Cybertruck will come. I ask almost daily now if Elon Musk, will the Cybertruck come to Europe? Elon Musk, will the Cybertruck come to Europe? But he said it in 2020. He said this was highly likely. And let's see. Do you think the Cybertruck will come to Europe? What's your view on that?
Yes, I think the Cybertruck will come to Europe in a very short answer. A little longer answer is I think there's a lot of interest over here as well, and I think they can see on the reservations holder, of course, how many reservations is from Europe, and I expect there will be quite a lot. I think it will be worthwhile for Tesla to bring it to Europe, even if they have to make some changes to the car for pedestrian safety or whatever it might be that could get in the way. But I also had an article here in Denmark where a big car magazine said that it would never, forget it, it will never come to Denmark, it will never come to Europe, because, like they said, it's too big. Well, first of all, we got F-150s over here, and that is actually the same length and the same width, but the Ford F-150 is actually higher. So it's smaller than an F-150. So I can't really see how that could be a problem. And then they, of course, talk about the weight of the car, then it's too heavy. And that is true in some cases, but in the UK...
we got it, the overlay?
Yeah, that's the news magazine, yeah. But in the UK, they already changed the law for electric vans back in 2018 that they are no longer just allowed to have 3,500 kilos. They are allowed to weigh 4,250 kilos. So that has already changed, and that is for all zero-emission vehicles in the UK. So I expect that the same will happen in Europe, because we have seen the same with the semi-trucks. They have also all been changed in all of Europe, that you can have your semi-truck, if it is electric, it can weigh 2,000 kilos more, 2 tons more. So I expect the same thing to happen here. But where this article from Denmark kind of fell apart from me, it was when they talked about when they talked about the charging plug, because like, oh man, that's not even an issue. What are you talking about? That's like, oh man, you just
ever.
Yeah, like where do you think the Model S is made? And we have that in Europe, but yes, it has a different charging plug over here. So like, oh my God. They actually made that an issue. Like, no, forget it. You can't charge it over here because they have a different plug in the US. It was like, okay, never. I'm not going to read the rest of this article. This is just too stupid.
Yeah, this is actually insane, because I also see that the headlines we have, and also some of the comments, are pretty hateful towards the Cybertruck. Oh, like, it's so interesting, especially in Germany. People are so triggered by pickup trucks, and by electric pickup trucks, and by Elon Musk's pickup truck, of course. So they're so triggered with that. But overall, because you've talked about pedestrian safety, I also talked with Brian so thoroughly about this, with the crash tests and everything. We've had so great crash tests visuals already from the Cybertruck with the crumble zone, but we can speculate all day about the crumble zones. We need the data, and there is an interview coming up. I want to plug this here pretty soon about this topic, where I interviewed someone from Fraunhofer Institute here in Germany, who is an expert actually in regulations, and that's the funny thing. He's a friend of mine. He works there, and he's super informed about the laws in Europe, because the Fraunhofer Institute kind of is a little bit like a government-bodied, financed research facility. So this means they're pretty close to the government, actually. So they need to dive deep into the rules to get this. And he had interesting things to say about that, but I won't spoil too much. But overall, like we've already seen and discussed, I think even the pedestrian safety shouldn't be an issue. But Lars,
and
one
Elon
thing
also tweeted about that.
Yeah.
Elon also just
of course.
tweeted about that he thinks that it would be safer for occupancy, but also for pedestrian than a normal pickup truck. So I think they have thought of this.
Yeah. Elon Musk recently tweeted that. That was pretty cool to see that. Also, that they said that because that implies that Elon had the reports of the crashes reports, and of course NHTSA is already through, because if that wasn't true, then the pickup trucks couldn't drive around in the US, especially those 10 that they delivered right now. So, yeah. But Lars, talking because pedestrian safety is kind of a non-issue. We have to see, we have to wait. We cannot, especially in Europe, of course, we have to wait until NCAP really tests, Euro NCAP tests this. But now talking about the technology, maybe we can go into the technology again. What is so special about the Cybertruck? We've heard this millions of times, and I think my viewers here as well. Maybe you can write down below what was the most exciting thing for you guys that you thought, wow, this was greatest technology inside of the pickup truck. So maybe you can write it. But Lars, maybe we can go through the technologies that are in the Cybertruck, and then we can see what this new vehicle category can have from this, of course.
Yeah. Well, I think the whole Stbywire thing that they have created was quite impressive. Also because they can also steer the back wheels at the same time. So this just gives them very, very free hands to control everything, and they can come with an update if they get some better technology or they want to do something, make the back wheels turn even more, so they can do some kind of different turns and all kind of stuff. Because now it's just software once again, so that's pretty cool. And it made this huge big Cybertruck very maneuverable, and I think that is very, very important as a work truck. Because when you're going around on construction sites, you want your car to be very maneuverable, and it turns. It has a turn radius of a Tesla Model S pretty much, and that's because, as you can see on the little video you're showing here, that when it drives 5 miles an hour, when you do a 180 lock on the wheel, it turns the front wheel quite a bit, and also the back wheels quite a bit to make it turn even faster around. And then they have the 45 miles per hour, where we can see a whole lock doesn't change the front wheel very much compared to the other ones.
And so also you can see. Yeah, and this line in the middle, if people are not confused, this one is the wheel, the steering wheel. So how much the turn radius is, like how much degrees. So this is like it's not 180 degrees, but it's 170 maybe 170 degrees turning radius. And what I also think so interesting is to see here now is the top view actually of the Stbywire engines and things, because we've seen that in the factory tour where people walked around. We've seen some parts of that, but here it's pretty good visualized how this works. So maybe you can tell the audience a little bit, maybe not to get too technical, because of course I don't think we both are engineers, but but we can like kind of skim through it. What's so special about it?
Yeah, and also because it's motors that's actually using this, and I can't remember the numbers now, but Jason from Hagerty that made a very great review. Hagerty makes some awesome production in general. If you like cars and good production videos, they are a channel to follow. But he also explained that these 3 motors, because it's actually just one motor in the back, I think, and 2 in the front or something like that, or the other way around. But the current that is going through all of that and the voltage, he said that was like pretty much as in a house would have to handle in the old days. So that's also why they brought the whole next technology with the 48 volt architecture into the car, to be able to manage all of this great technology. And as Elon also said in the interview with Sandy Munro, it's not like it's a breakthrough technology to raise things to 48 volt or to have their control area system, these cans that is talking to each other through internet or Ethernet. That is normally Ethernet, that normally in the car is like 500 kilobits, and in the Cybertruck they turn it up quite a bit to 1 million kilobits. So, but that is like normal Ethernet speed. Yeah. It's just that the car industry is just so far behind when it comes to all these technologies. Yeah. So Tesla's just really taken the Cybertruck and put it into the modern world, in my opinion, and that's so cool to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've mentioned here a pretty important point as well, because CAN was the standard before, like it's CAN, and I think it's a car Ethernet or something in German. It's that's the name. So it's a kind of automotive Ethernet, I think it's called, or something. And it's a little bit, it's the same actually, but it's special for the plugs. I think a little bit different than a normal Ethernet port, but similar in that sense. But this is also a total game changer. Like you said, the fidelity is much higher. You can get much more through the line, and you need this fidelity actually to have this precision in turning and everything, that you don't have any, like you need a lot of headroom as a safety feature. And I want to kind of look into a little bit more like you said, the 48 volt architecture now is so important, because you need so much voltage to actually power these big turning engines in front. And Stbywire was already in place also in Europe. I mean, the Lexus, for example, had it. The Toyota had one with Stbywire, but it never really came through. It didn't hold itself. It was too expensive. Sometimes they had some concepts, I think, that worked. They had a small batch, of course, that worked. And the approval, it was also approved by in Europe, but it was a partially steer-by-wire. It wasn't a real steer-by-wire in that sense, as far as I'm informed. But yeah. And this one is totally different. That's true steer-by-wire, what we're seeing. And this also has to be approved, of course, yeah. So in the US, it's already approved, but in Europe, it has to be approved. And I think that's my theory, actually. And maybe you can say something if you agree or disagree here, because this was also very heatedly discussed with Matthew Donegan-Ryan in his DMs. I wrote him and asked him. But actually, getting the Cybertruck to Europe is a strategic point for Tesla, in my opinion, to get all this technology. It's like a Trojan horse. The Cybertruck is a Trojan horse to get all this technology to Europe approved, because then we have steer-by-wire approved. We have 48 volts architecture approved, because now they have the car. They need the approval process already done, because when it's the biggest car they make, and when they go lower, it shouldn't be a problem at all to get everything approved. Also the cyber design. So this is something if the crash tests work in that configuration, then the other car categories that might come will work, of course. Yeah. What's your opinion on that? What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's a very good way of looking at it as a Trojan horse, or just trying to get the technology over here and show the rest of the industry that they have to catch up. So I think this would be very good for the European car industry if the Cybertruck comes over here, because it will make them look a little bit like a flip phone or something like that with their cars, because their technology is just like 60 years old. They have been using the same voltage for 60 years. So it will come over and bring some competition to the old guys and try to, okay, we have to up our game. We have to do as Tesla, and Elon Musk even sent the memo to them how to make a 48 volt architecture car. So that was pretty funny, and the balls was pretty big on that one to be able to do that, to send that to all the CEOs of all the car companies in the world. See, here we go. Let's go to the next level, guys. Come join us up here.
Yeah, absolutely. And what also this shows, I think, is that Tesla really wants to shift the industry. They want to push the industry to 48 volts. I think it wasn't like they have the balls to send it to them, and it's kind of funny how they did it, but actually I think it was pretty truthful. It wasn't to troll them, to say, oh, look what we can do. They really laid every groundwork. Here's what you do. You need this, and that, and you can do this and that, because they figured it out and they just shared the information. And Tesla has a track record of opening their patents or sharing. But of course, opening patents means that the other company also has to open up their patents, and nobody did that. So that's why this wasn't really adapted, and all the car manufacturers did a different engine and different types of things that they don't interfere with Tesla's patents there. But they're really open with that, so I think that's a good idea.
And it's going to be easier for Tesla when everybody else is also at that, because then all the suppliers is going to make 48 volts gadgets. So as long as it's only Tesla, they have to, and as they say, they have to work with all their suppliers to help them get to 48 volt architecture in the things they produce for Tesla. So Tesla has not just done it for themselves. They had to help all their suppliers, to all their tier suppliers, if it was tier 1, tier 2, or 3, So yeah, it's a big job to make this change. But Tesla has gone and done it.
Yeah,
and also
when talking, please.
Sorry, just the other thing about they also went with 800 volts, running the car on 800 volts, and all the other Tesla cars are only on 400 volts. So we have seen this before with Hyundai and Porsche and Lucid. I think it's all running on 800 volts, but everything else in the car is still 12 volts. So it's still not the same kind of technology that's in the Cybertruck, that's in the Porsche or the Lucid. And they have the problem when they're charging, as Jason from Hagerty also explained, that like when Lucid comes to a 400 volt charging a charger, they have their little Wunderbox inside the car, but that means that they can only charge with 50 kilowatt, even though the charger can do 350. Because it's a 400-volt system and Lucid uses 800-volt system. But Tesla has this switch inside of their battery, kind of made it 2 battery packs as well within one, so they can charge both these battery packs at the same time, but also allows them to take full advantage of 350 kilowatts from a 400-volt system. So that was pretty amazing technology. And Jason was once again like, why haven't the others done this? This is like, but it's easy when somebody does it, right? But until then, you have to think about it, to come up with it.
Yeah, but also the Cybertruck makes other cars look old, and I think what people I think people underestimate is that if they can put this thing on European roads, they show the world that they are capable of going through the red tape regulation in Europe, that they can do such a vehicle in Europe. That and of course, I mean, you have to think about that. I mean, down the line, there are so much interesting vehicle categories still. Remember the van. I mean, we don't know if it's going to be a cyber van, but I can guarantee you that it's going to be a cyber van, because bending steel is cheaper than stamping steel and everything. So it's easier to do, more or less. They figured it out more or less. The 25K car also in the works here. I'm a little bit spoiling here for the real topic that we're going to dive into, because this is just preparation for the compact. I mean, the compact will have a lot of technology from the Cybertruck, and the production processes and the things and the technology they used is so important, because think about it. If you have a steering wheel and you want to have robo-taxis, what's the last thing you want to do? You don't want to have your customer grabbing the wheel and just turning it over into something, and then Tesla is at fault. Yeah. So when you disable the steering wheel, that it can turn while in robotaxi mode, for example, then that's important. And that's why they needed the 48-volt architecture, the steer-by-wire, and the things. And maybe you can also comment on this a little.
Yeah, and also make it very easy to get this car to Australia, where pickup trucks are also very popular, because they drive on the wrong side of the road. Yeah. We would say, but because it's so easy now for Tesla to make a right-hand or left-hand drive car, they just put the steering wheel on the other side. It doesn't really matter anymore, because there's not a lot of wires and stuff that has to go through to the wheels. It's all just digital. So that's really cool, and I think you are definitely right. Especially in the beginning, if they don't have that, if they still have some regulatory approval, they have to wait for real, true robotaxi where there's no human supervision. They can have the steering wheel there and it to work, but as soon as they don't need it or don't want passenger to turn, you can just by software turn it off and say, now it doesn't work. Your kid can sit and play in the front and play that he's driving the car, but it doesn't really matter because the car is driving itself. So that's really, really cool.
Yeah. And one thing that's the next thing, because what technologies do we also have in the car? Of course, the charging speed is one thing. And it's interesting. We've seen on the website, it was 250 watts plus, of course, and or kilowatts. I mean,
kilowatts.
So kilowatts, of course. And what does the plus mean in that sense? Because we've seen some tests now. So maybe you could tell the audience. That's info that I got from you. So you have to share it.
Yeah, we heard Lars from Tesla talk about it together with Franz at the Top Gear review of the Cybertruck. That they said that it would be able to take the 350 kilowatts from the version 4 superchargers that they are installing. So maybe they are just waiting to have more version 4 superchargers to tell the world that this is your max now, or just make a little software update and make a little event out of it and say, now you can charge with 350 instead of 250. All for free. Your Cybertruck just got better.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is absolutely huge, because 350 kilowatts an hour is or kilowatt hours is a crazy charging speed. If you think about it, it's gonna take, I think, the Cybertruck to fill up in 20 minutes to full, or 50 minutes, something like this.
Yeah,
around that ballpark, maybe half an hour before with 250. I think it depends. I don't know. We have to see the tests and the test results. And but this makes great news now to actually see that the Cybertruck has this technology as well. So fast charging speeds, steer-by-wire. What do we have? Also,
biggest
4680
casties in the world, and 4680 cells. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, exactly.
So we should also not see the same. Oh, sorry, but we should not also see the because with Tesla you see it can charge for 250, but after 5 minutes it starts dropping down, and then after 10 minutes it's down to 150 or whatever, and then it just keeps going down. But I think the Cybertruck will probably be able to keep that charging level for a much longer time, and keep it very high, because that is pretty much heat that is slowing down also the charging process. But as they showed at Battery Day, they don't really have that heat problem with these huge batteries, because they don't have this little tab that everything has to go through. It can go through the whole top of the battery. So that is pretty cool, and I can't wait to see some test of them charging this one at 350, also because Jason's talked about it could charge both those two battery packs that kind of in this one structural battery pack, if that has some benefits, or maybe it can charge even faster because it's two battery packs. So I don't know, but very exciting to see what kind of technology comes in there and how fast it can actually be able to charge.
Yeah, absolutely. And what also with the battery technology was interesting, that Tesla initially wanted to do a double stacked battery, actually with 4680s double stacked, but this didn't work out kind of, and they decided to just put it into the board and put an additional battery in the back. So maybe you can talk a little bit about the pack that we seen in the pictures of the Cybertruck.
Yeah. So that's been one of the many discussions topic around X and everywhere, that it didn't come with the 500 miles range as promised. They did come with the 250 miles version, and the 300 plus ended up being 340 miles, so that was pretty good with the single and dual motor. But then the tri-motor did not come with the 500 miles as they talked about. But I think it's simply because it's an overkill from Tesla's side to put in, because they have talked about putting in a 200 kilowatt hour battery pack, and like I talked about in my video also, like it's like less than 1% of the users that will use this kind of range. It's only really if you're towing huge heavy loads over a very long distance that you need this kind of range. So I think Tesla just realized that this is dumb, that we are making this overkill of a car. They did kind of the same thing with the Plaid Model S. They also had a Plus version, if people can remember that, that should be able to do even more miles. I can't remember the miles anymore, but it was supposed to have a lot of kilometers. But Elon just said in the end, it's an overkill. Nobody's going to use that. It makes the car handle worse, because it's a much heavier car with all those batteries and stuff like that. So yeah, it just makes the car even more inefficient as well, because you have to carry out a lot of batteries, and especially in a pickup truck, you want it to be able to carry a lot of stuff. So if you have, like, I don't know, 300 kilos extra of battery, your cargo payload goes down with that amount also as well. So I think they just wanted to make the best possible pickup truck, and that's why they didn't want to have that range. But for the people that really need that range, because they are towing maybe a huge load in a trailer or boat or something, they can go and get this range with this box in the back that will take up 1/3 of the bed if they want to, and really need the truck for that kind of purpose. So yeah, that's been a big discussion why they didn't do it. But I think it's because it would make the truck worse just to get that kind of range. It's kind of, we have seen this with the legacy automakers actually, because I remember when I went out to test drive the ID.3 in 2019, and or 2020, I can't remember. It's about 3 years ago, and they gave me a piece of paper with the 6 different models, and they were all their middle standard range or the low range, and that's like, but where didn't you have like the 300-mile range they were all talking about and making ads about up to 300 miles of range? It's like, oh yeah, there's this little footnote down in the bottom of the paper where it said you can also get this with 300 miles of range. Ask your personnel, blah blah blah, and he was said, it is no longer a 5-seater then it's just a 4-seater, and it doesn't have the glass roof, then it's just a normal roof, and it doesn't have a tow hitch, but you have this hook you can add to the ID3 where you can have a bike rack. But it doesn't even have that. so they just really made the ID3 as crappy as possible to get to say we have 300 miles of range. And I really just think that Tesla didn't want to make a worse pickup truck to deliver that goddamn 500-mile range that they promised and thought they would do. So I think it's actually a good thing that they didn't do it and sacrifice the weight we can carry and made it a worse driving car and stuff like that. So I actually think when I've thought about it a bit, I actually think it's a good idea not to do it and make like the Hummer with 243 kilowatts of batteries inside it. It's just the complete opposite of efficient. The EPA actually, I think it was Jason as well that said the EPA rating actually made say the Cybertruck is twice as efficient as the Hummer EV. So that's quite amazing.
That's crazy. Yeah, I also have a nugget for you on that front, because I thought about that also pretty thoroughly. I was like, why didn't they do the double stack battery? I think Tesla could have done the double stack battery. Why did they do it? I think one reason is, of course, especially for the beast mode, that the weight was too excessive because they did their test rides. Maybe they had a double stack battery and used that and tested that and figured out, okay, we never gonna reach the speed. And I think the sweet spot is because the Cybertruck is how fast it can go in 0 to 60 miles an hour in
2.6.
I think 2.6 seconds.
Cybertruck,
exactly.
The Tri-Motor Beast. Yeah.
Yeah. And while I think in the test, was it also 2.6 with towing something, or was it?
They just said it was faster than the Porsche 911. I don't know what the Porsche 911 actually does 0 to 60, but okay. So it's actually faster. We have to remember that it's actually faster than what they promised. They promised 2.9 back in 2019, and they delivered 2.6. Yeah, exactly. So it is faster. Probably also because they didn't put in that many batteries.
Yeah, absolutely. I have the video right here. I'm going to pull it up again, that we can see that for 1 second just to check it out. But while I do that, I want to also go into another theory that I had, that was, of course, that the Cybertruck weight is the issue here. Because if it would have the pack for the European market again, now I'm ringing the bell again, because for internationalization, it's actually very important that the Cybertruck is kind of below 3.5 tons, or around 6,800 pounds or 6. I can't. I'm bad in calculating metric through the American system. It's very confusing for me. But it's not as. The weight would exceed that because the battery pack will be heavy. There was no weight actually on the page, sadly. But you can think about that. If you get so much more range, like almost double the range, not really double, but kind of like 1/3 more range, you can imagine that you get 1/3 more weight, or not 1/3, but a little bit more weight. Yeah. This would be a KO criteria actually for the European market, I think, because even with the 4.2 tons allowance that was raised in the UK and also they wanted to get this into the European Union as well, and I think they might push for that as well. I'm not still sure if it's through already, but they discussed it pretty thoroughly. Also that's very important also for Mercedes, for example. They also make so heavy EVs that you kind of need that to actually do trucks and the heavy duty categories like the Sprinter vans, etc. Yeah. So it's important. So I think that was also a criteria why they chose not to do a double stack battery. It's an additional factor, I think, that would just speculation, but what do you think about that theory?
Yeah, I
as
think
well?
that's a very good observation, that it would probably become too heavy for the European market. So if somebody needs that extra weight in the US to tow something, let them have that extra pack in the back. But we make a tri-motor beast that can be sold globally, because this is just this is just such a beast. It's crazy how much technology went into this this Cybertruck, and especially the beast here. That is. I love this video because it's like the fastest a 911 had ever gone is on the back of a Cybertruck.
That's true. That's true. Actually, and here's the number I wanted to see at the end.
The fastest quarter mile.
Yeah, it's so crazy. It's also such a good video how they managed it. I have to show that again. It's so funny. Yeah. Here 2.6, even with the thing attached, which is crazy. Like with the.
I think those are the numbers without the towing,
okay.
Though.
Yeah, okay, but still, I mean.
Because it does a quarter mile in 11 seconds.
Okay. Yeah, now I get it. But
they just want to show that it can outperform a 911.
Yeah, this also
by towing.
This also shows the speed and the towing. Actually, that is so crazy. So, that combination is it. It's not only about the speed. It's not only about the range. It's about how much it can tow with the acceleration. Actually, so it's kind of almost like the Tesla semi-truck in that regard. It can pull so much. It has so much torque, and it makes sense. And a lot of technology of the semi-truck actually is inside of the Cybertruck as well. So they have some similarities in the how they're set up. So it's interesting that they build it around that. So, but now I think.
I'm excited to see if they have the same kind of cruise mode as they have in the semi-truck, where it only tows with one engine instead of all three, if it can do that. Because I know my Tesla Model 3 from 2019 actually does this. It blocks the back engine when it don't need it. It was like when I got this little gadget in my Tesla, like first time I saw it, like, what the hell? It doesn't. Oh, I didn't know it could do that. So I can't wait to see how its efficiency is when it's towing stuff. That's going to be very interesting to see if they have been able to make it better than all the other guys, or is just the same. You lose in range.
We'll absolutely. And I think for the next bit, now we gonna get into the nitty gritty, because we talked about the technology and people that are now at the point of the video. Why didn't you start with the thumbnail? What's going on? I wanted to have this exposition for a reason. It's a reason that you need to know which part is happening at Tesla, that you know why it makes sense that they're going to make the 25K car, that all this technology we've heard from the Cybertruck actually goes into the 25K car, the 48-volt architecture, for example, all those things. And of course, Elon Musk did a great interview at Sandy Munro, and maybe we take a listen, and then we're going to talk about what's happening there.
The $25,000 Tesla. And so I'm wondering, where is that exactly? Where are you with that?
Yeah, unfortunately, because we're a publicly traded company, I cannot comment on things that would have a material impact on our financials.
Okay, well, there you go. But can't. So if we can't do that, then let me shift gears. And what do you think about the new?
I can say a little bit. I just can't tell you, unit volume and dates, because that has a mass. That is projecting the financials.
Yeah.
So we obviously are working on a low-cost electric vehicle that will be made very high volume. We're quite far advanced in that work. I review the production line plans for that every week, and I think the revolution in manufacturing that will be represented by that car will blow people's minds. It is not like any car production line that anyone's ever seen.
Is this going to have the basically unboxed system, or would this be too much of a question to ask?
The thing that's most interesting about this is the production system. It's a level of production technology that is far in advance of any automotive plant on Earth.
I can only wait.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool.
It's gonna be very cool, sure.
Yeah, I think and I should point out that we will be making the first production line will be here in the Gigafactory in Texas, in this facility.
Oh, I thought it was going to be in Mexico or something.
That'll be the second place.
Oh, that's way cool.
It would take too long to complete the factory in Mexico.
Well, this place here seems to be growing every time I come here. It seems to get bigger.
We're adding a significant extension on the south, and adding more buildings on we have 2,000 acres, so this is really just a small part of the property.
Yeah.
A lot said there already. I mean, this was already crazy. He didn't talk about in that segment about the technology really, but he dived into that as well in the whole interview. But boy, did we got some nuggets here, because he said, of course, Texas is the first factory that's going to produce that, and Mexico will be the second factory. And this also has a lot of room for a third factory, actually. That's going to be maybe Berlin, because this makes totally sense to get this thing to Europe. I was speculating Texas, Germany, and then Mexico. But now it's Texas, Mexico right now. So I was off a little bit there, but that was also my theory that I've dove into with Amy a little bit. And yeah, it makes sense. So, but what the hell? Crazy, right?
Yeah, we kind of knew it a little bit from Isaacson's book about Elon Musk, where he said they actually was already working on a production line in Austin for this car. So we know it's not just like Elon said. He reviews the production line plans every week. But he probably also walked the production line, because we know they are already working on it and tweaking it and trying to find out how to do this on-box method that they are working on. And these technologies from the Cybertruck with Stbywire is actually quite a big deal, because what Tesla showed at the Investor Day was also they want to work on kind of 4 parts of the vehicle at the same time: the front, the rear, maybe even more parts, but from the rear and the constructional battery pack, and then also the 2 sides, of course, and then just join them all once, so they don't, like in a normal traditional automaker, will put everything together, then paint the whole thing, and then take it apart again, and then put in all the different stuff, take away the doors and stuff like that. But Tesla wanna skip that whole process and save the paint as well, because you normally paint a lot of stuff that will never be seen. And so steer-by-wire, and also we have a lot of brake-by-wires in most cars today, and also accelerator-by-wire. So we can actually do the whole thing now, just by wire, steer-by-wire. So you don't really need to have some wires going down to the back end of the car. Now you can just do it all digitally. So that's pretty cool, because now you can build the back of the car, the front of the car, the middle of the car, and then just have all those engines and cans and whatever there is there to communicate with each other in the car. Yeah, this is the old process.
Exactly, and then
here comes the new one.
Yeah, the newer one is over here, I think. Here,
yeah,
here's
right
the animation.
There we go. Yeah, exactly. So now they can actually do this, because nothing is connected anymore if they have both brake and accelerator and steer-by-wire. So now they can build the whole front of the car. At the same time, they build the rear of the car. At the same time, they build the structural battery pack in the middle. At the same time, they make the doors and everything, and they make the sides of the car. And then they just have one place where they're going to assemble it all. Yeah. And this comes from the Cybertruck and tested out in the Cybertruck. And as they also showed in the Investor Day, like 85% of all cans in the car of the Cybertruck is made in-house. But the next gen vehicle will be 100% made in-house. So they're going to make all the electronic stuff in-house. And yeah, it's going to make it possible to do this real on-box method here, where they connect everything afterwards, because they don't need all those wires anymore. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and what he was also referring to, and I think this was also very important, is here this picture where you see the reduction actually of the new footprint. It's like over 40, like it's 40% reduced footprint, and that was the. I think since Investor Day they worked on that line. I think they started working on it already somewhere secretly or something, and get the plans ready. And also, what you've mentioned here with the supplier networks is, of course, when you have everything in-house, you're less dependent on suppliers, and the more you do that in-house, that's the newer strategy that is more way better, because, of course, China gets more and more expensive, because it isn't the 90s anymore, where China was really struggling actually and they had huge growth, but they almost had slave labor conditions to produce the goods here for the West, and now suddenly the tides are turning. People get more and more money also in China, so the living standards rose, and of course now the prices are getting higher and higher, and now we are in a kind of situation when something like a global pandemic happening. It's expensive to actually get it. Before that, it made sense to have a supplier network, and it still will make sense with specialty parts. But I mean, if a chip can't be shipped, then the whole line stops. That's crazy. Or if a knob of a seat is missing, then you can't. Legacy automakers stopped the line.
Yeah,
which is
because
crazy.
they missed one chip, and exactly. Yeah, and also the 48-volt architecture is going to be tremendous helpful here, not just because of all the technology and all that stuff, but also with the whole wiring, because as they have also showed in many videos, that if you quadruple your voltage in the car, you divide your current with 4. So you have a lot less current you need to put through the wires, so the wires can be much, much thinner. So this also means that you will have less heavy copper in your vehicles and less heavy wires in your vehicles and stuff like that. So this little tiny car with all this new technology that we have from the Cybertruck will also mean that it's going to be a very light little car. And so I also think the battery, because we're talking maybe a couple of years before this one will come on the roads, and I believe they will have even more advantages with the 4680 cell at that point. So, and hopefully ramped up to higher volumes. So maybe this car would even get those batteries as well, because they have so much powers, and it can make them very affordable at that time, because that is actually their own homegrown batteries. It's not in collaboration with Panasonic or anything. This is just their own batteries. So when they get that fully ramped up, hopefully in a couple of years, that could also be beneficial for the car. And if it's so little, so efficient, and so light because of all this new technology, with less copper, less wire, it's like 75% less wiring and copper that's in the Cybertruck because of this, right? So it's quite a lot. So this also means they could probably put in quite a little battery to get a decent amount of range, like a 250 miles version of this compact car will probably not need much. As we know from the new refreshed Model 3, standard range has, I can't remember because they don't have it in the US yet, but it's 554, I believe it is, if you have the 18 wheels on. And it has a 57 kilowatt hour battery pack inside of it. And that's a Tesla Model 3. Big, nice sedan, seat 5, and cargo space and all that good stuff. And the compact car is, of course, going to be smaller. So if they're already this efficient, because this is close to 300 miles, I believe, right? Let's
it's close to that.
Yeah, it's about 300 miles. So if they can make a 300 miles standard range Tesla Model 3, they will probably have the same thing coming for a standard compact car, but with a much smaller battery. They could probably do this, I don't know, let's say 40 kilowatt hour battery or something like that. So it's also going to be way cheaper, like half the price for the battery, compared to a Tesla Model Y, for example, that they have earned very, very good money on before they made all the price cuts. So I think with the scale of that thing as well, because they're really going to try to ramp this up to be produced in the millions, and then they're also going to have the economy of scale on the 4680 cells, and they're going to have all this new technology with less wires and the weight in the car. I think they could make this very, very affordable actually, when it comes, and also because one of the big cost of producing a car is, of course, the production itself. And if they have reinvented how to even produce a car, I think that the cost of producing the car is going to be, I think that's going to blow our mind as well, just how efficient they can suddenly build a car and how they're going to be ramping off, spitting off the production line. And I think also the funny thing about this is that someone like Toyota ripped apart the Tesla Model Y and called it a work of art. And now they come with the Cybertrucks, like, what the hell just happened? We just ripped that boy apart, and now you're telling me that's old technology? And Toyota have said they would come out with with their version of gigacastings and structural battery pack and all that good stuff in 2026 or 2027. But that's when Tesla's going to come out with this compact car. That's going to have a whole new way of producing a car with all this new technology, 48-volt architecture, new cans with 1 gigabit connections, and steer by wire, brake by wire properly, and acceleration by wire, and all this good stuff, and the new 4680 battery cells and stuff like that. It's like when Toyota finally comes out with their car, that's going to be like last decade's technology. It's so funny when Elon have said so many times, the only thing that matters is the pace of innovation, not the innovation itself, because that's why they also open up their patents, because if somebody copies their patents, as we can see with Toyota, they will be way behind. They're not leading anything at any point if they just copy what the others are doing, because what we see is always, not the latest technology that Tesla has. It's the old technology, and then they reveal something they have been working on for 4 years, for example, and it's way above anything else.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's absolutely crazy how much the Tesla now reduces the cost factors, and now it makes sense. I mean, people have to remember that Elon isn't as heated in his mind. Of course, he tweets sometimes just out of his hip, but I'm not sure if he plans his companies out of his hip. I would say that he plans like in 15 years ahead or 10 years ahead, and he already saw what need to be happen, and now he just figures out how to make it happen. And the most interesting thing about all of this, I think, is that the way the Cybertruck is built is so different. They have a vehicle that's already orderable, at least. I mean, of course, when will it ramp up to the numbers that we need to actually get all these reservations actually out of the way? It will take at least 3 years to get all these reservations if the people will hold up, and then there's another line of people lining up to get the Cybertruck more and more. So it will take time, but like you said, it's crazy. People or the car manufacturers just follow Tesla, but can't actually reach it. And I think the battery production is the big thing here, because even the 4680 batteries aren't at the levels that they've announced at Battery Day. So they're not even close to the number. Like, they are close, but I mean, there needs to be a lot of innovations happening in the battery front to actually do it as well, because now they're thinking about the anode and cathode is still a thing that they could improve, and there's with the silicon. We have to interview the limiting factor for that stuff. So there's something with silicon. I'm not sure what was happening there, but that's also the holy grail for the battery, that the battery taps are different or something like this. So please don't run out with your pitchforks now, but please write in the comment what the hell is happening with that, because I'm not as informed there. So maybe you can teach me something.
That we're not there yet. Right now, the battery is probably not much better than. It's probably the same as we have seen with the 2180 cells from Panasonic and so on. So we haven't really seen the gains yet. Probably also holding back on stuff, but we had seen the Model Y with the 4680 cells, and it didn't really come with any more range or more charging speed or anything really. Maybe Tesla also don't want to show anything, and it can come down the road. But I also think because they don't have all the chemistry right just yet for the battery and the scale and all that good stuff. So I think we're gonna see some very big improvements in that as well. Like, definitely for sure. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that also
I
would just say with the technology we have seen in the Cybertruck, also the charging and of the battery and so on, because the small one, if it has like 40 kilowatt hour battery pack or 35 kilowatt hour battery pack that can take 350 kilowatts, it's gonna it's gonna charge really fast because there's not much battery to be charged, but they now have the technology to go at least up to 350.
That's so crazy.
Maybe they won't even do that just to keep it cheaper. Maybe the standard. But they could do the same as they do with the Tesla Model 3, right? That the standard range doesn't have as much charging speed, and therefore they can keep it even more affordable. So I think people are still talking about they can't do the $25,000 Tesla because they're not going to be profitable with that one. But Elon have said himself, and they also show here at the Investor Day, that they're going to not just cut the footprints in almost half for the factory, but they're going to cut the price in half. And we already know from Sandy Munro that the Tesla Model 3 and Model Y, they are around 33 to 38,000 in his prediction of the Tesla Model 3. And Tesla themselves has said at one point that they went down from this $86,000 for them to build an electric vehicle on the S and X platform to around the $36,000 or $38,000 for the Model 3 and Model Y platform. So to cut that in half, then we're talking about $18,000 or something like that. So even if it cost them $20,000 to sell it for $25,000, that will still be a 20% gross margin. That's still amazing. No other company on the planet Earth has ever created a small compact car with that kind of margin. They usually have very razor-thin margins on the Toyota Yaris or something like these very small cars. They are meant to get into just the loop of service and repairs and bank loans, right? That's pretty much it. Yeah. That's what they earn their money on.
Absolutely. Also, VW changed their chains in the car, made it smaller and smaller and smaller, that they break more easily after like this amount of miles. So people go to service and service like, oh, we have to change this chain now. It's like planned obsolescence. It's crazy. That's when an old industry has enough time to think about stuff to save money on or gain money from, then they're gonna be very creative with planned obsolescence. But Tesla is the opposite because they are not in the market established, not as much, of course, in the EV market, of course, but in the overall market, they still have a kind of small percentage. It's getting big. I mean, Model Y was the best-selling car worldwide this year, or it's close to that now, even more close, or already surpassed every number. But still, that's crazy. And I also had a theory about the 4680s and the Model Y. Why did they put the 4680s in the Model Y? Because they needed a car to test that. Cybertruck should be scheduled to do that actually, but it didn't came out because they had difficulties. My theory is they needed data on the batteries. That's why they put out the Model Y, to gather real world data of people charging their cars. Now they have it. Now they know how their battery works. And the interesting thing with this compact car doing a 4680 battery is also when they produce the batteries, they always have batteries that are not on par or not good enough from the batch, and then they sort them out a little bit. And it's not that they don't work, but they're not as efficient as others. So there is a small amount of also with chip manufacturing, sometimes you have bad chips or something is missing, something isn't working. But these batteries are totally capable batteries, but they don't charge as much. They have these testing stacks where they test the batteries after production and charge them and discharge them and charge them to figure out how much. And then they have their yield. And if the yield is good, then the good ones are going to go into a car and the bad ones not. But the interesting thing is they have the big, of course, the now I'm blanking out on the mega packs. Of course, they have the mega packs. If the efficiency isn't as good for a car, put it in a mega pack. If the efficiency is like in the middle somewhere or 80%, put it in the compact. And if it's 90%, 95%, put it in the Cybertruck. And put it in the semi, for example. And that's so interesting to see. They can really use the yield, also the yields that are bad, the batteries that aren't as good, to put them in some kind of product from Tesla. And this is also a money saver because battery is the most expensive thing in a car, like you've already said. They could cut that in half if they cut the efficiency of the battery, or they could just cut everything in half. It's crazy.
Yeah. And also the excuse me. What was I about to say? Something about the batteries. Oh yeah, that the next generation vehicle is also going to be able to take any kind of battery. Mm-hmm. So even though they want to scale up to 1 million, it doesn't really matter if there's a shortage of lithium 1 year and iron. Not iron, we have too much iron, but any kind of magnesium or whatever shortage that might come along. It doesn't really hinder Tesla's huge volume car here, the next generation vehicle, because if they can, whatever battery they can get, they will buy it. So if there's somebody else like GM and Ford that is scaling back, there are probably some sad battery companies saying, but you said you would buy all of these cars for 1 million vehicles this year and you're not going to do it. But Tesla will buy anything anyone will allow them to get. And that's a cool thing about the small car as well. They can use whatever kind of battery. So we're probably also going to have an LFP battery or whatever. And when BYD or CATL comes along with a sodium battery or whatever, Tesla's car can be able to do that as well. It can take any kind of battery. So that's really cool. And I think the thing here about Tesla leading the race compared to the competition, that Volkswagen themselves has been out saying that they are no longer competitive price-wise, because they cannot compete with these prices that Tesla is putting out there and the Chinese are coming with. And I think that's going to get even worse with the next generation vehicle, because sure, Volkswagen have said that will come out with a $25,000 car or €25,000 car, but I don't think they're going to be earning money on that in 2 years' time. They hardly earn money today as it is. What we know of anyway, they won't tell us, but they say they earn some money, but whatever. But I don't think they're going to come out with a $25,000 car and earn a lot of money on that, on an EV. But Tesla will. Tesla will have a really, really good margin on a $25,000 car, in my opinion. And I think because this is also Tesla, we have to remember much of their luxury or the feel of a Tesla is just software. You're still going to get your screen. You're still going to get all your software. You're still going to get your safety assist feature. You're still going to get your autopilot. You're still going to get all of that good stuff. They are not going to cheapen it as we see with the other guys. There's also been a discussion because of the Cybertruck, because it's more expensive than first expected. But then you see the Ford F-150 for $55,000. It doesn't have their big, beautiful screen in the middle that is vertical and not horizontal, but they just have the old school built-in screen in the middle of the car. You have to pay over $70,000 for the Ford F-150 Lightning to get that screen in the middle that they show off all the time. That is not in the two cheapest versions, but not Tesla. If you buy the cheapest version Cybertruck or the cheapest Tesla Model 3 refreshed here in Europe, it is stunning car. They have really not cheapened anything. The only thing you don't get there is four-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, and charging speed of 250. You don't get that either. You get 170, but with a much smaller battery, so it still charges pretty fast. So, like in my review of the Tesla Model 3 refresh, I said this is just killing the ICE industry, because who would want to buy? Because it's so affordable, especially compared to what you get, because you have to compare this to some of the German big brands, right? So and they just it's way too expensive. And when you buy, like Mercedes is very good at coming out with pretty good from prices, but they have just stripped it down from all the beautiful technology that Mercedes have. And if you want that, yeah, sure, you can pay twice as much for the car, and then you will get some of it back.
120,000 for EQS.
Yeah,
how about that?
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
That's a good deal.
and I really think that this is starting to come more common knowledge how far behind they are, because even like this guy Jason from this Hagerty that made this review of the Cybertruck, that thought he would hate the Cybertruck because he kind of hated the look of it and what it stood for, but because he's an engineer and a car guy, he just loved it by the end. And his co-host there on the podcast they did said, "You respect it." No, I love it because it's just such a mind-blowing technology they have made here. But he also talked a little bit that they love Mercedes. They are actually Mercedes fans, these two guys sitting there and talking, and like they said, the EQS is the worst consumer product ever made, and then they laughed and said maybe that's a bit saturated, but the idea here is that even Mercedes guys don't like the Mercedes EQS, so it's so expensive, but you don't really get a lot of software technology, and I think it was actually you that said this to me, that they put in this game that was so chubby and it didn't work really well, but this doesn't feel premium.
And maybe let's elaborate here a little bit. From what game are we talking about? Do we talk about Cyberpunk? Do we talk about GTA 5? No,
you're
about
thinking
Tetris.
of the Plaid.
We talked about Tetris. It was
this is
lagging.
so
The
shameful.
interface was lagging like this. Yeah, Enjoy Gaming. I wrote. I've tweeted about this, and I showed you that. It was
I had
very
that
hilarious.
game on my Game Boy, and it didn't stutter. in the 90s.
And this was in the 90s.
Yeah. Like,
Or
oh
in
my
the
God,
80s
Mercedes,
even.
that is just embarrassing, right? And I really
Yeah.
think that is wrong, because people have been screaming about the affordable electric vehicle, but we already have affordable electric vehicle like the Dacia Spring here in Europe. It is quite affordable, but it's not a very good car. And it gets very low Europe NCAP safety ratings and stuff like that, and it doesn't charge very fast, and it kind of have no range and stuff like that. And I think that is really where Tesla is going to come in and change the whole game. They're going to make the affordable electric vehicle, but it's going to be a good electric vehicle. It's going to be a Tesla. You're going to have your screen, you have all the entertainment in the world, safety assist feature and all that good stuff. It's going to be a Tesla. And I think that is really such a game changer, because the other guys are struggling. They still don't know how to make an affordable EV. And Mary Barra, that is leading the way, as we know,
And it mattered.
has even been out saying that they don't think they can make a $30,000 to $40,000 electric vehicle profitable this decade. And Tesla will make a $25,000 electric vehicle in 2 years, probably. And that's going to be very profitable. And they are so far behind, it's not even funny anymore. It's unbelievable.
And Lars, how many times have we talked about this? It's so crazy. And now we can grab popcorn and just watch the industry collapse. It's actually so crazy how far everybody else is, and I totally agree. And now when Elon announces stuff like this with the new line, if I would be now sitting in the board of VW, I would shit my pants, just to be clear there, because this is so crazy. They're gonna, in Zwickau, you also talked about this. In Zwickau, they closed, they want to close down the Zwickau factory, actually, or in that sense, they reduced it pretty much. They stopped production of ID.3. They stopped production of the Skoda. Was it the Skoda?
Both the Skoda Enyaq and the Cupra Born.
Enyaq. The Cupra Born was it? Yeah. They stopped Cupra Born, they stopped ID.3, and they actually fired workers at Zwickau right now. So they're already downsizing. Who talked about this a few, 1 year ago, maybe now? Yeah, of course, Herbert Diess said that. Of course, Herbert Diess totally effed it up with CARIAD. It was his baby, and he, drowned it in the pond. It was a disaster, because he thought, how about using 10,000 programmers on this problem? No, that's not how programming works. And you don't actually try to make this cluster F better. That's already out there, that they try to mix up. Jim Farley said that in an interview a few weeks ago with Fully Charged. I have the clip here. I'm gonna pull that up, because I think that's so important here. Wait a second. Here.
Car companies haven't written software like this.
Yeah.
Ever. They've never written software. So we're literally writing how the vehicle operates, the software to operate the vehicle for the first time ever. We've noticed commercially is that most of the established companies are failing in the EV side. They are selling and they're coming up with new models. But when you look at how much they invested, how big the plants were, how much capital they put at risk, and basically, what customers are doing and buying, it's not panning out.
That's also not the one. But he also talked about the it's still interesting and totally on point now. But the interesting thing is that they have so many software suppliers, like this supplier network with their parts. They dig their own grave with that, because then when Bosch makes the seat adjustments, and then you need a API to talk to that, and then you need an API to talk to that, and then you need the guys who did the maps, and it's not in-house, and software has to be in-house 100% or it won't work. And you can really see that with the interface of the Cybertruck. I've totally analyzed that when they did the tests. I was like, what the heck? You can control control the Cybertruck is in 3D, and you can control. You tap on the 3D Cybertruck to open up the. How much more intuitive can you do a car? I want to open this. Of course, while driving, you won't turn, and you have a different interface while driving. You have a more simple interface. But for opening up the front, the back, you can see your Cybertruck. It's such a nice interface and totally capable because they have a huge graphic card inside of the car and everything. The processing power is there. They have the connections and everything, so yeah, they're totally built for that, for the software. I totally agree there.
Yeah, and I also think actually Elon mentioned this at the interview with Sandy Munro that he just did, that I can't remember how they got into the discussion, but basically Elon is saying, you have to know engineering if you need to build something like the Cybertruck. And I think that's actually a very good way of looking at it, that the old CFOs and CEOs of the old guys, they are combustion engine people. They don't know this technology that the electric vehicle is. They thought they should just build an electric drivetrain and everything will be peachy because we are Ford and we are Volkswagen. Everybody's just going to love our brand and our electric vehicles. But Tesla is software engineers and their CEO is an engineer. He can go and talk to the guys on the production line and understand what they're talking about, and he can go into the room with the designer and have an idea what they're talking about, but also go to the engineers and talk to them about aerodynamic and everything else in the car, and go to the electric guys and talk about voltage and steer-by-wire, and he can go to the software guys and talk to them about programming. So Elon is just a very special guy in that sense, that he's running a company that he understands the product. But I don't believe someone like Mary Barra or even Jim Farley here, that I actually respect for how they're really trying to make this switch. Yeah, and he's doing many right things, and has opened up the whole financial of Model E, and that's really big respect for that. But they just don't know software. And we are heading to a future where the car is basically going to be for software. And Herbert Diess actually said that. I think it was, I can't remember if, I had a chart once. I don't know. I don't think that was Volkswagen that made that chart. But he showed like in 2030, it would be like the cost of making a vehicle, or maybe it was 35 or 40 or something. But anyway, it was like 90% of the cost or 80% of the cost of producing or making or creating the vehicle would be software. It would not be all the small gadgets and stuff, because it's going to be such a cheap car to produce, because an electric vehicle has many few moving parts, and everything is coming down in price as we scale this up, and we have Wright's law that's going to come down in cost. So yeah, it's basically a game of software and understanding the engineering. And Elon really hit the head of the nail when he said, well, I understand engineering, so I understand I can, you have to understand the technology you are running a company for. And I think that's the big problem. Like we have also seen in some of these companies now, I can't remember, when they fire one CEO or one CFO or manager or whatever, they bring someone in from marketing or whatever. It's like, what is he going to do in a software company? Like, he's an old automotive CEO or whatever, and they bring him in to try to make this software work at Volkswagen or whatever. It's like, he don't understand what they're doing. He might understand where they want to go, but if he doesn't understand what they have on their screen when they're sitting in a program trying to solve problems, he can't help. He just doesn't know. And I think that's a very big point that Elon came with here, that this is so difficult for the old guys, because they don't understand the product they have to build. They think it's an electric car, and it's not.
No, it's like you said, it's a robot on wheels, or a computer on wheels, you could say, but a robot on wheels is much more fitting in that sense, because also, I mean, we haven't even talked about FSD, which is ridiculous. I mean, what the hell? You can't make this up. It's gonna be the tide change is also accelerating now. You can really feel it. It's crazy. I mean, Tesla really goes so far with everything, and I think the key takeaways here from the limiting factors sum it up very well with the compact car. Was the key takeaways from that interview with Sandy Munro was that the super compact Tesla is quite far along. and he's reviewing the production plans on a weekly basis. That's a big deal. And the second thing is the first factory for the subcompact vehicle will be at Giga Austin, and the second factory will be in Mexico that we already talked about. But that's really much true. That, I mean, if Elon is reviewing the production plans and on a weekly basis and also walking a line and the test lines and everything, that they already have that in place, is insane. Is actually insane, because this means while they were working on Cybertruck, they worked also on the line. And I think the things that worked in the test line went to the Cybertruck line. Something like this must have happened. And the Cybertruck isn't 100% there yet, because they still need brake-by-wire functioning in the Cybertruck. But I can guarantee you also that, and maybe you can write that in comments as well now for the end of the episode, if you think that Tesla will have brake-by-wire at the end of 2024 or something like this, I can see that, or 2025. And I also think that that's why this is so important to get those regulations, because steer-by-wire is already similar. And with brake-by-wire, we have a different issue because we need safety, a safety feature there. And of course, Brian from My Tesla Weekend has another theory about this that I cannot spoil here. I already told me that he has a pretty interesting thing. He said if I credit him, I could say it, but I won't do it because I want My Tesla Weekend to say it himself on my channel. So maybe next week we're going to have him on again. I kind of feel like his third channel now. I think he has a third German channel, and I'm just AI, and in reality it's Brian behind me. So I'm just a puppet right now because he's so on so often, but he spilled so great insights. I had to have him on so much. But crazy. How do you see the future of that? I mean, the lines are Elon walking the lines. It's crazy, right?
Yeah, I think they are much further ahead, and many have discussed when they were kind of holding back a bit on the Mexico factory, like, oh, it's going to be delayed with the $25,000 compact next generation vehicle, blah blah blah. But the ones that actually read his book about Elon Musk knew that they were already working on it in Austin. So that was a nice confirmation, both from Elon here in the interview, but also in the book, that nope, it's going to be in Texas, and understand why. Because now they have also been working on this line together with the Cybertruck, as you just said. So they could talk with the guys that is actually running the Cybertruck line and the engineers, and they are all together in that factory just brainstorming about how to make this next generation vehicle work. So I think this is, I think we're going to be surprised in maybe 2025 that they are actually going to come out with that car that year. In smaller volumes from the Texas factory, and then when the Mexico factory is going to be up and running, whenever that's going to be, is going to be spending millions. And then I have to say, a compact car for the European market would be, that would be game, set, and match for Tesla. That is a huge deal in Europe. And I think that extra expansion they're doing on the Berlin factory, I believe that could be the compact car they're working on. And because they haven't built anything yet, so of course they will not go back and build something of their old technology in Berlin. It's going to be some of the new stuff. So if they have to change the Cybertruck too much, they can just build it at the Berlin factory, a European version. But otherwise, I think it's for the next generation vehicle. And as we just talked about, half the footprint, but the next expansion they have showed us is twice the size of the Model Y factory that is closing in on 400,000 now, but it should be able to produce 500,000. So if you have one that has half the production footprint, and is twice the size, you're going to be able to produce 4 times as much. So we're talking something like 2 million of this vehicle could be produced in Europe, theoretically anyway. So I think it's going to be amazing. And as you said, if full self-driving with version 12 is as close as many of us believe, because it is an AI that is driving the car 100%. So it's just a question of learning. It's not even a question of solving the technology and stuff like that. It's already solved. It's there. They just need to teach it to drive. So if they can have solved that by 2025 as well, oh my freaking God, you can buy a $25,000 Tesla and then get it to be a full self-driving robotaxi. That's going to be just...
And then the margin's going to be like 60% or something because they're going to raise the price.
And then Volkswagen is going to come with their ID2 and show the world how it's done.
and then you can buy a compact car from VW for 35,000 euros, or you can buy a $25,000 Tesla with a $20,000, so $45,000 for the robotaxi as well, so you can drive, let the car drive and pick you up and everything like this. And Mercedes gonna be stuck in traffic again, and then you can drive with their system, and the compact
then
gonna
you can drive
off.
Yeah, if it's not raining.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely crazy. So Lars, thank you very much for doing this again. I always have you on. I like to have you on. The live stream was awesome. We're going to do that again as well. But I just wanted to say something for the end here is that it's going to be so astonishing what's happening. I think Elon's going to put out the Cybertruck in Europe still. I'm still a proponent of this theory of mine because they changed the pictures online. I mean, my reservation, why should they do that if Europe isn't a priority? So they try it. I think they're pretty on, and I think their lawyers are working on this. And we had confirmation about that from Brian from Texas, where he stumbled into a Christmas party of Tesla employees that he just got this information that really the lawyers are working heavily on the regulations in Europe, so that's a good sign. And also is, of course, I think the Cybertruck is such a statement piece, talking about does Tesla need advertising? Not if you can put the Cybertruck on the road in Europe. No. You don't. It is advertising. This thing will have such a halo effect on every other vehicle category they have, and if they can get this weight through the biggest car they have, they're gonna get the Cybervan through easily. Not even a problem. They with everything, with the technologies, with the lights and everything, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be actually amazing. So
even
everybody,
the rack in the. Oh, sorry.
No worries.
I love nerding out, but even the rack in the back of the bed is actually taken from. I believe it's Mercedes that put them in first. The little where you can hook everything up in. That comes from the WAN technology. So this would be the easiest thing in the world to change this into the cyber WAN. So yeah, definitely. Definitely.
I also think so. Yeah. So thank you, Lars, again for being on.
Thank you.
Maybe you have a question for the people here in the comments that you want to ask, or maybe that interests you, what they could answer. Do you have something?
Well,
here?
If they know when the next generation vehicle is going to come out, that would be very interesting. And do you think it will be before or after they solve, if you believe they solve, of course, full self-driving?
Yeah, that will be interesting. So after 2025, after 2026, who knows? Write it down in the comments, please. So thank you very much, Lars, for doing this again. And of course, there's only one last thing now to say, and that's goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Wasn't this episode awesome? Let's accelerate the pace of innovation by subscribing to TeslaFix. It is my absolute favorite channel on the whole interwebs.